Hey guys, this is Vishal Kapoor, your friend in real estate, and welcome to a Real Estate Wisdom Podcast, episode number 19. Well, I hope you're doing well. Bank of Canada interest rate, everybody's waiting for, like what the announcement is going to happen next week. And I don't think like it's going to change much in sense they might keep it as it is. Cutting down, it might happen in March. But that's not the topic for today. Today's topic is in this high interest market, where are the investment opportunities? Because if you look into that, there's not many properties which is giving the positive cash flow. Definitely, if you purchased the property 4 or 5 years ago, like on a very low interest rate and you're on a fixed, you might still making some money. But if you did it in the last couple years or 3 years or even a high peak time, most likely you're not making enough money. Or maybe it's like paying from your pocket, because a lot of people doing that, right? And they're struggling. And some people have no choice just to sell the properties. And these investors, like even experienced realtors, I won't say experienced realtors, but experienced investors, they never seen that is going to happen this way, that they have to pay from their pocket to keep that, because they were relying on rental income. And rental income did increase, rental prices did increase, but at the same time, a rate of interest, interest rate have changed significantly, and which pushing people not to invest that much. But good investors always looking for opportunity and looking into that where they can invest, not only to make more money, but even to sustain, for example. And from last couple of years, some of the municipalities have announced about second dwelling, and which helping people in some way. But also a lot of people, even in the areas like Oakville, where basement apartment was not a thing like several years ago, it's getting pretty common. People renovating their basements, and now the basement's renting out for even 2-bedroom basement, or even 1-bedroom, from anything from $1,500, $2,200 to $2,500 rent, which is significant. And because that will help them to pay out the mortgage, because the mortgage what they're paying, for example, $5,000 before, now it become $7,000, $8,000, or $10,000. So where they get the extra income, where they can get that extra income from? So people getting creative and utilizing that space, which you are not generally using it, or even they're using it it's they using it more effectively now. So today we're going to talk about what are the benefits of purchasing a multi-residential property, not just a single-family home. We do the investment on single-family home, condos, and those are the investors who are looking to one extra property or two properties, but they don't have experience of in how to manage it. They can manage a one tenant, but you also need the experience, or you have to hire the property management company to handle multiple tenants as well. That's the other topic, how you manage it and how you handle people who not paying rent or not getting evicted. We already talked about in the bashing about LTB and the process, what happening. But today we're going to check and talk about benefits of purchasing duplex, triplex, or multiplex investment. So when considering multifamily properties like duplexes, triplexes, and multiplexes, there are several advantages which make them appealing investment. First of all, a rental income. Well, these properties generate income from multiple rents, offsetting expenses. Stable rental income from long-term reliable tenants. The other benefit which I see is that these days, like for example, uh, when you're buying the rental property, you always have to consider the vacancy rate. And the saying is like, you at least consider 1 month to 2 month vacancy rate. So what happened is like, if you're doing a purchase of the regular rental property, by the time like one tenant leave, the second tenant coming, a lot of time it happens is it takes, if you try to rent out the already rented property, showings is the problem, how the tenant is accommodating it or not accommodating, that can create issues. And most of the time it happens like, once the one tenant gone, you're cleaning up or refreshing it. So take into consideration that extra month income will be lost from there. A lot of people don't consider that. They think like, it's from month to month, it's automatically going to happen. New tenant will come in and start living and start paying you rent. But that's not the reality. We say like, at least one in normal market, like, 1 to 2 months of vacancy rate can happen, which you have to consider when you're purchasing the rental properties, right? But when you're doing the multiplex, what can happen is at least out of, let's say you bought like a fourplex, right? And out of fourplex, like, one tenant vacated the property, you still have a three tenants who are paying you rent. And if it's a positive cash flow, that will reduce your positive cash flow a little bit. But at the same time, you're still able to pay your mortgages and cost in owing that multiple units, right? The other thing is like affordability. Duplexes are often more affordable than single-family homes, providing excellent value for money. That's also a flexibility. These properties offer the flexibility of living in one unit while renting out others, accommodating extended family members and maintaining privacy. So this is a trend, like, especially like a new generation. When they're buying a property, they're looking for a little bit bigger houses. Even they're not going to live in whole house. They want to generate the income by renting out, like for example, like a basement. In some cases, also people looking into have the family member living over there. For example, maybe the wife's brother living over there, or his family is living over there. It depends on, like, it can create the complication as well, like how well you get along with them. And that can save some money, because if you go and renting the property outside, it might be higher. But if you're doing it with a family member, it can be cheaper. But at the same time, maybe both can come together and investing in that property and living in the multifamily property. So something to consider, like, if you're not able to afford the property by yourself, maybe you can collaborate with your brother or family or your parents. And that's why we're seeing like more people still living in their parents' basement apartment. And it's just the stigma, and like a society say like, no, you're still living in your parents' basement apartment. There's no shame in it, right? You're living in the family. I know your parents probably wants their privacy. They have done enough with you and they want you to get out. As long as you're earning and you're contributing the family, I don't see any problem with that, right? Love to hear your thoughts. Like, what do you think about it? Because going outside and giving money to somebody else, why not give money to your parents, which can be help with their retirement income? So something to think about. Like, society thinks like differently, especially in North American, and people like Asian families have different philosophy, and even other families, like, they want to live as a big family and contribute. Because more people living over there, they can contribute, and they can be financially beneficial, isn't it? The other thing is like, investment potential. Well, Duplex and triplex properties are described as exciting investment opportunities with captivating potential for savvy investors. So there's a several benefits, like that's what the investors look for. In terms of when you maintaining, there's other factors which you have to consider as well. But let's see what should be doing is let's say you decided that you want to buy the multifamily property. Now you're going to ask Vishal, where are you going to find those multifamily properties? I know some areas in Hamilton, Welland, Kitchener, Waterloo, but can I find something in Burlington, something in Oakville or Mississauga, where we have the rental opportunities, where people wants to live? But before you do that, I'll say that to identify a suitable multifamily property, you have to consider the following. First of all is location, right? That's a key consideration. Just like said, location. So when you're looking for the property, offer properties in desirable cities with lower vacancies and higher demand for better investment returns. I mentioned that before as well, that if vacancy is higher, even you're buying the property which looks great and cost less to purchase, but if it's not in the area where vacancy rate is low, then you're going to lose money. Then it doesn't make sense, right? Second thing, you have to look into that property type, right? So you align the property type with your investment goals, such as apartments, duplex, or townhomes, right? Townhomes can be another great investment as well, depending upon the location and which area you're doing it, and what's your budget on that too. So property type, look into that, what you can manage. If you're not hiring the property management company, but if you're hiring the property management company, it doesn't make much of a difference. Some might able to give you, because if they're managing multiple properties, they might able to give you, property management companies can give you some discounts, but not necessary, right? The other thing is financing. You have to explore various financing options, including real estate crowdfunding, partnerships, and commercial term lending. So anything you're purchasing, if it's less than sixplex, that's considered residential. But if it's more than fiveplex, like six, depending upon the rules, but it's more than six, then it's become commercial. So if you're buying the building which have multiple units, like a apartment building, for example, that considered commercial. So the taxes and everything, it's different on those ones. We can elaborate more about that sometime other, but giving you, it will be treated differently. And the financing happened differently on that as well, because you're not going to be doing it on individual. You can buy the threeplex, fourplex on just individual name, but when you're doing those ones, like in the commercial one, it might be in a corporation. That's the other topic. Maybe I'll make a note on that. Having is a good idea to form a corporation. How many properties you should own, which is a good idea to form a corporation or not. I'll have a tax planner sometime, and we will discuss those that topic as well. The other thing is method of finding a property. Absolutely. There's a different ways. If you have a realtor who specialize in multiplexes, I would recommend that you reach out to them. But there's other way of finding those properties as well. Use public records, right? Identify potential investments by assessing public records for property owners. County auditor website, right? There's gather property information from county auditor website to create a list of potential owners, and especially working with realtors, collaborate with multiple family brokers for insight and access to off-market properties. And the other aspect of that, right now, people saying, how about intensification? Because the government have introduce some programs, and the encouraging for creating more housing is going for intensification. So intensification basically means, like, for example, you have 140 by 140 lot, right? And you have the one 2,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet bungalow in that one over here, which is serving only one family or maybe two family, like a duplex on that. So what government is proposing on those ones over here, and that's a rebuilding of the neighborhood, is demolish that one, and they giving the permit or changing the zoning for multiplex. So you might able to create, like, on that unit 5 or 10 townhouses, depending upon the size of townhouses, or creating the multiplex low-rise building right in between that. That's the other thing, like, their neighbors over there, they're going to like that or not. I know there is a lot of resistance for that, because nobody wants to live in $2 million, $3 million house, single family home, and they have the building in front of that, which is multifamily. But it's happening. Like, there was a big uproar when in North Oakville, where I live, there's on Carding Mill, there's 2 units came out, which 150 units. And it's middle of where you have double garage car, 3,400 square feet houses, and builders, and that was the official plan for a long time back. They built those buildings over there. In order to do that, definitely municipal have to look into, infrastructure for sure. How they're going to accommodate roads, parking, parks, and also, the biggest consideration on those ones as well, that local schools can take your kids there or not. Again, there's enough space there or not. So there's some other issues happen, but sticking to our topic over here, looking into what are the opportunities are. So if you thinking about, again, how I can buy the investment property or even the land, or which is rundown house, and reconstruct and make a multi-unit. So here's the opportunity for those ones. And I think a lot of builders also looking to that, and they already started doing that. So that could be a good consideration if you're thinking about making a custom house, but now plans have changed because you cannot afford you already have the land, and that was your plan, but maybe it changed your mindset now creating those multiplexes. So, good insight. Anyway, looking into the property evaluation, right? That's the other thing about consideration is building and unit details. So, assess the property quality, amenities, and purchase history. So, when you're purchasing those multiplex, make sure you know the quality of that, because that's need a different kind of home inspection. We have the home inspector coming out next week. We're recording the podcast. My longtime acquaintance, home inspector, which I always use, Mark Ellison from the Home Coach. He will be here, and we were discussing about all the things about home inspectors. But let me tell you, not all the home inspectors will do the multiplex properties. Duplex is fine, triplex is fine. But if it's more than that, they won't do. You need specialized one who do the multiplexes for that purpose. So you can assess, how the building structure is. There enough? There's enough separate utility meters, for example. If there's the washrooms done properly, is that legal? That's right. In some cases, it happens. You hear this story all the time in single family home. There's 5, 10 students living over here, 2 in things, so that become multiplex. No, that doesn't become multiplex. It's just illegal. You have to follow the bylaws. You have to follow the building codes. You have to consider the safety. So when you're looking for those properties, what you have to look into is how the structure, when the roof, windows, and other things. First of all, consider safe. Heating, right? Is that it's adequate. is in purchasing property. So that's the consideration. You have to do the quality. You also have to look into that what the amenities are. So if somebody is living in the multi-residential, what could be the main consideration for somebody who's living on those ones? Like, and I'm talking about as a tenant. Accessibility for sure. Public transit definitely need to be nearby. Schools which can accommodate those kids there as well. Shopping center, community center, parks. So it could be more desirable if you have those areas, because if you're doing the multi-residential or any residential, that's why I talk about location in those remote areas where you have to go by a car or you can use public transit. It might be difficult to rent those out as well. So when we're doing the potential evaluation, we talk about the location and neighborhood in there, but you also consider the property's location, neighborhood, like local policies for potential appreciation and income growth. It is very a lot of people they skip that part, that looking to what's the income growth look like, right? Some of the multi-residential property, I remember showing several years ago in Welland area, and the rent not very minimum, an increase. They were paying a $400, $500, $600 for one bedroom, one washroom unit for that time, and they're a long time tenant. You can't evict them. You cannot increase that much. And that's also have to consider when you buying those properties, like if they have the existing tenant over there, and what are the process. Because when you are chasing those properties, chances are that you have to assume those tenants, right? So have that consideration as well. And if you're refreshing it, can the new tenant coming in and they can pay more, right? So that's the other thing we have to consider, because that's how you make the investment consideration, like it's a good investment or not. So leading to that, risk analysis in multifamily investment. Investing in multifamily properties involves risk, and that should be carefully managed. So why it's look like a lucrative, you can make more money, but like it says, there's more risk, more chances of getting reward, but also you have to consider your risk. Are you that kind of person who can take that kind of risk or not, right? Are you that kind of person who's going to manage that property by yourself and saving the property management money, but you have to run every other week, because one day this unit have some issues and other day other unit have some issues, and then you say, wow, I'm just going back and forth and burning my gas and everything. Is that worth it or not? I also consider your time, right? So when we look into the risk, market risk, right? So first thing to consider, a local rental demand, vacancies, population growth, and current rental rates can impact rental income, right? We just talked about that. Economic and market conditions can affect investments, influenced by factors like shifts in supply and demand and fluctuation in interest rates. So supply and demand is one thing, but also need to consider, and most of the time those multi-family homes, like we have seen so far in areas like student housing, near universities, right? Students, that's one thing to look into that. We have a little bit section about that student housing as well, and how you can manage that. So some great potential on that segment as well, because there's a lot of students coming in, and we already at the short so many houses. It's a big demand for student housing. Universities cannot, there's no enough space for them to accommodate. So they're looking outside the universities, but there's not enough on there. But the rental price is so high. on the individual ones or regular condos. So student housing, you see like a more in Kitchener Waterloo area, like a Waterloo especially areas, like whole building is like student housing only, managed by property management. You can do the investment over there, but one thing when you're doing the investment in student housing, a lot of people don't know about it. It's hard to get mortgage on those. Yes, like when you're doing the student housing, and that's why you're probably seeing a lot of listings, like, and it's mentioned over there clearly, it's a student housing. Make sure you have the financing for that, because most of the bank, they don't do financing on that. So that's the consideration. You have to look into that as well. The other segment on that is also like the senior housing. As we know, we in the country where we have baby boomers who are retiring, become seniors, and now they were thinking about living on rent, and rental prices gone so high, they can't afford it. So that's the other crisis coming in. But also the opportunities are there too for the investors and to creating those high housing, because the advantage of making a senior housing, in my opinion, is like, first of all, like they're going to stay there for long, so you don't have to change your tenant all the time. And seniors, most of the time, unlikely students, is going to keep your property neat and clean and maintained. They're not going to have maybe they have the grandson and granddaughters or grandkids coming over here to visit them. But most likely what's going to happen is going to do. I can give you my example. And I have one property, I have the same tenant from last 12 years. They are seniors, still working. They're not retired yet, but husband and wife, and they keep my property neat and clean. I don't have to do much maintenance, and even they're paying much less rent than what the current market is. But I'm okay with that because they're keeping my property maintained, and they're paying their rent on time. So that could be another consideration when you're looking into investing in the property, which meant for seniors, right? And you might get some, I'm not 100% right now, I have to do some research on it, but you might get some incentive or some kind of rebate as well, because government is promoting those things, and you might get some help. And even the municipals have done some policies in there. I think if you're doing the senior housing exclusively, and that could be a good investment in my opinion, at least for long-term consistent income coming out, so you not have the much vacancy rate on those properties as well. The other risk is asset risks. So property condition, structural issues, utility problems, and neighborhood crime pose potential risk. That's the other area you have to look into that. In that area, potential risk. If you have the other multiplexes around the area, do consider the crime rate, and how many times it happens, a police visited in one of those units, how the area is, right? And this information, you can find that information as well. But at the same time, if you have the experienced realtor helping you, working with you, that insight can be very, very critical and useful to you. Because if you buy the beautiful property and turn out there's a high crime rate in that area, it's not safe, chances are a lot of people not going to rent that property as well. Other risk is financial risk. So there could be a financing challenges, debt risk, and complex property management tasks as financial consideration as well. So when you're doing that, having good property management company is it's important. And do not hire somebody who's just doing it your friend live in that area who's going to visit the property and everything. Nothing against it if they can manage it, that's great. But the chances are they're just doing offshore and they not be consistent. while you're hiring the property management company, you're signing the contract with them, so they have certain obligations to fulfill, which make you feel safe because you have the contract with them. And they charge, but at the same time, you're going to have some peace of mind because you don't want to get the middle of the night that furnaces start working or tap is leaking or sink is blocked because those things happen, right? So a property management company able to manage it for you. It will save you time and hassle. Not only for you, but also like for your tenant as well. And you're able to provide the great experience to them. If you want to know like some good property management company, I do some of them. Okay. The other one is like a balancing debt with property value and cash flow is crucial to managing financial risk. When of the phase people buying the property and first time they're buying especially, they tend to miss like those kind of things. They'll treat that as a normal residential, like a single family home. They don't know where they can lose the cash flow instead of gaining it because it looks very lucrative. That you know what, I can buy it for 650,000 or 800,000. Let's say in this market, a multifamily like a fourplex, and now I'm going to rent all of them like around $2,000 or more, because I just mentioned like in the basement these days renting out for $2,200, and I'm going to get like a several income on that without calculating other factors in there. So make sure you consider that as well, which lead into how to manage mitigating risk in multifamily investments. So to minimize the risk associated with multifamily properties, I will say like adopt these strategies. First of all, like it says, do the comprehensive market analysis. Conduct thorough market analysis considering local supply and demand, which we mentioned before, economic indicators, right? Who are the people who's going to rent there? Are they working in factory? Are they working in retail? Employment rate? What's the main source over there? Like, what kind of people? Like, especially like people working in a factory or plant, right? More chances are like those going to. But are there any things like that sector is going to go down? It happens like in sometimes the automobile industry that mass layoffs happen. And what are the chances like that might happen? Looking to the current economic scenarios or looking to that where it's leading towards, right? So thorough market analysis, it's really important. Also considering the population growth. Is the dying community or thriving community where like a new new families are there, or family with more mature kids are there, or they're retiring. Look into that aspect when you're doing that as well. Okay. The other thing is like a diversification, right? So diversify investment across different locations and property types to mitigate localized challenges. It's always the strategy in that one. If you're doing the multiple properties investment, so it comes to how you can diversify to manage those rings. Investment is all about diversification. Saying is like, don't put all the eggs in one basket. And that's true in real estate investment. You have to diversify it. You cannot just rely on one asset class. You have to choose like a different asset class to invest so it can balance. For example, a lot of people, when going on, they want to invest in condos, but the condo market is down right now, and people looking for townhouses, single family homes. Like it's happened during COVID as well. People needed a bigger space. They're moving out from condos. So, and then there was a huge vacancy rate was in Toronto, and that was not sustainable for investors or landlords, right? Because still they have to pay mortgage, even the interest rate was so low. But if they're not getting any income, where they're going to pay it from? But if they have the other class, which is growing and which is going to give them returns, that going to help in balance out. All right. So always diversify. Due diligence. What kind of due diligence you need to do? Well, conduct extensive research on the property and market, including demographics, employment trends, and potential developments. So one thing I look into that when you're looking into those due diligence is like what other development is coming out which can affect you. For example, Kitchener-Waterloo area was like for a long time had that, their single family home which was converted into duplex or triplex, and when their student housing was like happening, right? And people were making good money on that because I think the properties over there like 150,000, 200,000 that time you can buy it, and you're renting out like even 600, 700, like, and that was a normal rate, and you're making good money on that. Then what happened? That market gone down because smart builders or property management company, because one was the issue when living on those kind of houses is student cooking, partying. They need that, and they don't have experience or you can say the maturity how to live in the house. So not only the damage, but also as a living condition, because some of the properties I went over, I had looked into, it was like in such a bad condition. I don't even think how even they live in that situation. So what happened in that time? That this big condo building came out, and it's meant for like student housing only, which have a cafeteria, nice rooms, fresh air, and also like because of the management, so they have to follow the rules and regulations. They cannot do party all night kind of things. It's more disciplined. It's just like you get dorm in Western have a pretty good dorm over here. My daughter was studying over there, and they're pretty good dorm, and the cafeteria where I feel much safer in that way, and the parents feel safer as well, rather than they're living in the individual, especially when they are in the first year and they don't know how those things work, right? So make sure you take into that consideration what other development is coming in that area and is going to affect your investment there as well or not. Other thing is insurance and legal compliance. So acquire comprehensive insurance to limit liability, ensure legal compliance to the managed legal and management risk. Such an important thing, right? You have to have fire insurance for sure when you're doing it, but there for multiplexes is different insurance, and also you have to look into that is because not all the insurance company might do the insurance for that as well. For example, in Hamilton, there was several units they've been marked like a red, insurance company won't even insure on those properties because they have the old wirings, aluminum wiring, and all that kind of stuff which needed to be taken out because they won't insure those properties because it's not safe. So by implementing these strategies, investors can enhance the likelihood of successful and profitable multi-family property investment. Now, the other piece we have to look into that, how to evaluate the return on investment, which means ROI for multifamily properties. So when evaluating the potential return on investment ROI for a multifamily property, consider the following factors. Calculate the net operating income, NOI. So how are you going to calculate it? Well, if you're good in math, you can. I'm just kidding. Well, the simple formula. You can also go online, and there's several tools available over here how you calculate your NOI. But the simple formula is divide the property's NOI by the total investment cost for typical return on investment ranging from 14 to 18%, right? Assess assess cash flow. So estimate cash flow by subtracting operating expenses from rental income and calculate ROI using the formula. So whatever you estimated cash flow by subtracting operating expenses, and I can provide you what are the operating expenses, but I just mentioned, if you need more information, you can go, I may be able to provide some link over there. You can go and you can calculate. So you have that calculation. A lot of people again also do having the Excel sheet ready so they can input those numbers and they can tell you. Even you're buying the multifamily properties, the listing agent or the seller have already put those information along with the listing for you to look into that. A lot of time it happens. You have to look into those carefully as well. You cannot go just by the face value because you have to look into them and look into that. Is that makes sense? Is that what your return on investment you're going to get on that one? Because that could be, inflated. The one thing you have to also look into that when you're buying, like for example, older multiplexes, evaluating long-term expenses. Consider long-term expenses such as maintenance, repairs, and property management costs for an accurate assessment of potential ROI. A lot of times like that happen that people forget about that. That's roof need to be changed, or heating system need to be changed, or flooring need to be changed. So do consider those ones as well. That it's overdue or going to be there in future when you have to maintain those ones, right? Consider different metrics. Use metrics like cash on cash return and internal rate of return to measure earnings and evaluate potential returns over the investment's life. So every investment have a life, how much is going to depreciate, how much is going to happen. So those are things you need to consider as well. So factors to consider in ROI evaluation when evaluating potential ROI, which I mentioned, I keep on saying ROI, but for people who don't know, return on investment, which means here's some key factors. Like first and foremost is the rental income. Assess the property rental income, occupancy rates, and additional income sources. So rental income is not only like a rental income is definitely what the rent they're paying. Occupancy rate is definitely looking into that. For example, student housing. A lot of people do that. Like even kids not going in July and August, right? Because they're off, but they're still paying the rent for that one because it's hard to get back over here at those 2 months not going to vacate. So you technically, they're not living over there, but you paying your mortgage and the investor paying their mortgage. They need the money from them. So student pay for that, right? But the bigger thing on that, again, looking into that is the additional income sources. So what can be additional income sources? Coin-operated laundry. You have no idea how much cash can inflow you. So if you're providing in that multiplex a coin-operated laundry, that could be your additional income, right? Because that you'll be collecting all those coins, you're going every week, emptying it, and you feel good, just coming like that. I'm getting the coins in my bag, right? It's a good feeling, right? When I hear those coins and click, cling, 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 and it excites me. Operating expenses. Consider maintenance, utilities, property management, and insurance costs. We cover already that. We talk about location, neighborhood, market trends, economic factors, financing cost. That's the other consideration. Calculate financing cost, including interest payments, loan terms, and down payment requirements. What do you have? And those definitely are basic considerations. Potential appreciation and risk. Consider potential property appreciation and associated risk. Developing contingency plans. One thing about the multiplexes, and I'm not talking about duplex or triplex. Now I'm talking about 5plex, 6plex, is their appreciation. So their appreciation normally doesn't happen as much as like in the properties like a single family home. So you have to take that consideration as well. Um, like for example, right now multiplex is in demand. Even the interest rate is high when you're purchasing those one. Chances of appreciation was higher. But appreciation is only matter like when you're selling it, right? Or you're taking the money out from there and reinvesting somewhere, right? Um, but you look because multiplex is, I say like it's not the short term; it's a long term investment strategy when you're investing in multi family home. So do consider that as well. What else? Where we cover the meditating factors to consider evaluation. So overall, like multi-family home is can be a good opportunity for now, especially if you're not making money somewhere else, but in the normal market as well. Because investors is about cash flow. It's not only you cannot rely just on appreciation, and that's what we're seeing over here. A lot of people, investors, like rely on only on appreciation, but the investment cannot go. You have to have the cash flow income, which is coming out all the time, and you're making some money on that. Because if the market changes, just like it happens from last year and a half or two, it can affect your investment big time. So that's it for now. I hope like able to provide you some insight on buying those multi family homes. And if you need any help, and definitely I'm here to help. I have people also who specialize in multifamily homes as well. And I have the network of realtors who specialize on those areas, which we consider, a high growth area for that kind of thing. Having said that, in coming weeks, now we also I'm reaching out to my network because my network is my net worth. I give you like a more information of Canadian real estate market from coast to coast. We're going to have my realtor friend from Vancouver and giving you the insight about the Vancouver market, Surrey and all Greater Vancouver area. We're also going to get some consideration and things from Kitchener-Waterloo area, which is specialized it as well. So giving the on-ground realty from local realtor, you get insight, which I can share with you. We're going to have friendly conversation over here. We're going to share some common things which happening in Ontario and Canadian real estate market, but also looking to narrow down and detail on those areas and share it with you. I hope like that wisdom will be very insightful for you for making any real estate investment decision. I talked a lot doing the solo podcast. Like, your mouth get dry, and that's why I have my glass of water, which I haven't drank because I'm so passionate about this thing that I don't even needed some script or anything. I just talk on the flow. Definitely, I have my laptop open so I can take a glimpse on that, like what I want to talk about. Because when you get so passionate about sometime, it goes a little bit outside the area. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some value in it. If you like our podcast, please like, comment, and share. I'd love to hear more topics which you like to know about. Have questions, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and a week, and keep smiling. Wonderful day. Bye now. Disclaimer. The information provided in this podcast is for informational purpose only and should not be considered as financial or investment advice. Consult with your professional before making any real estate decisions.